I looked at her and I knew that, you know, that was her. We changed, but not that much. And I said, Zoila, I have to ask you a question. And she looks at me and I said, did you ever work at a daycare facility? And she said, yes, I worked at Sleepers to Sneakers and Jack and Jill. And I said, I'm Zan. And she said, that cute little,
cute little girl like that, you know, 2-year-old.
Yeah. So
I said, oh my, yeah, yeah.
When I saw the referral, I said, there's only one Zoila that I've ever met in my life. I wonder, and I said, nah, there's no way it could be. You know, it's been 30 years, 28 years.
Correct.
No shot that it's her. And then she rolled in with the transport, and I looked at her and I said, that's her.
That is her. A little bit older.
Well, aren't we all?
Yeah, I tell people about this cute girl that I used to take her to. I said, she's a nurse now and a mom.
Yes.
And expecting a baby. And I get all excited. And I mean, of course, the tears come out. Yeah, that cute little girl.
I have this image of like, there's one thing that just like sticks out. I remember, I don't know if you were holding my sister, but I was standing behind one of my parents and I can just picture you standing in the doorway holding my sister and talking with my, you know, like as a little kid looking up to it's pickup time, like, come on, I want to go home. And I can just picture you standing there. And so throughout my life, I've talked about Zoila frequently, often. In, you know, when I'm talking about my childhood with people, you know, as I got to know my husband, you know, I talked about how, you know, obviously, of course, daycare was a huge part of my life. And you were like so instrumental and so huge in that, that I've talked about you and remembered those things throughout my life. Now, of course, I was very young.
It was just something that we both needed.
Yeah.
Our paths crossed again.
It's really a cool thing to think about, you know, like at a time in my life where I needed someone to look after me and make sure that, you know, I was okay and I needed taken care of, and you did that for me. And then, you know, the reason I do what I do is because I love people, and it's really cool for me to serve the community that I live in, and then to have such a personal connection and be able to give that back to you.
And I needed, and that's one of the things, I needed that connection.
Pretty stellar. So.
Yeah, I needed that. We repeat that, but that was it. I needed that connection. I took care of you, and then you came into my life. I'm going to cry here. Sorry. And then she came and she took care of me, which I needed to be taken care of.